So, hello everybody. I just want to say howdy. It's been a while since we have done this particular video together, myself and Stacey. So, welcome to Two Black Women Talking. And we are going to be discussing the documentary that's presently on
No.
Netflix.
Mhm,
Tell Them That You Love Me. My name
mhm,
is Samsarah Morgan. I'm the executive director of the Oakland Better Birth Foundation. I'm a birth and postpartum doula, family life coach, pregnancy coach, childbirth educator, mother of five beautiful sons, mother-in-law to two lovely young women, and the granny to three beautiful little kids. Well, one's not a little kid anymore. She just graduated from college. Very proud of her. Um, So I wanted to read a little synopsis of Tell Them That You Love Me, and then we will, Stacey will and I will discuss. Actually, I will shut myself up because Stacey needs to just introduce herself right now. So go ahead and do that, Stacey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for the invite. My name is Stacey Reid. I am a certified professional life coach, ordained minister. Do a lot of work in recovery. I'm currently a house manager of 9 wonderful women in a recovery home in Pennsylvania called Way of Life. So I'm enjoying my work in recovery and again, just ministry, life coaching in general.
Beautiful. That's beautiful work to do.
Mhm.
So, with regard to this documentary, Tell Them You Love Me,
Mhm.
explores a complex and controversial relationship between Dr. Anna Stubblefield, a Rutgers University philosophy professor, and a nonverbal man with cerebral palsy named DJ. Oh, goodness. DJ, sorry. His name was DJ. Dr. Stubblefield claims to have developed a method to communicate with DJ through facilitated communication, asserting that he had expressed romantic and feelings that we cannot talk about on Facebook.
Mhm.
Unfortunately for her, the documentary delves into the ethical, legal, and emotional dimensions of their relationship, examining themes of consent, disability, and power dynamics. It raises questions about the authenticity of facilitated communication and the implications of such relationships. The documentary delves into this case very well. Dr. Anna Stubblefield is a Rutgers University professor. She was convicted in 2015 of SAing Derek Johnson, DJ, a nonverbal man with cerebral palsy. Stubblefield claims that through facilitated communication, Johnson was able to express all of these romantic feelings towards her, and to her mind, he gave consent to their intimate relationship. The documentary examines the ethical, legal ramifications of their relationship.
Mhm.
So, this film drove me crazy.
Yeah.
It really, really did. Netflix is getting really good at having these documentaries on that just kind of
Mhm.
shake you up. I think that's the purpose of them. That it's looking for stories that will just shake people up. And
Mhm.
I'm still trying to recover from Baby Reindeer, which was a whole, my
Mhm.
goodness. Did you get to see Baby Reindeer?
I did not. I did
Oh
not.
Lord. I do recommend for people to see it. It's very hard.
Mhm.
And just goes to show how, you don't have to make things up. I mean, things that really happen to people in real life are always crazy, more powerful.
Mhm.
This really struck me in a very particular kind of way as a Black woman, because we looking at, even in this little synopsis that I read, we're not talking about the fact that this DJ is an African American man, uh, and he had his brother and his mother. And his brother is a person who was, when he was doing his doctoral work, was a student of Dr. Stubblefield
Right.
and saw a film in her class talking about this kind of communication. He has a brother who he's deeply devoted to. It's very clear that this is a loving family. Unfortunately, they were abandoned by their father. I don't know if that was because the father couldn't deal with Derek's disability or whatever. That wasn't really gone into clearly, but he
Mhm.
was not in the picture. So his brother, his older brother, not, it was not just a brother, he had a fatherly relationship towards his brother as well. So um he took this class with Dr. Stubblefield, heard what she had to say, and he was very excited to potentially help his brother, who
Mhm.
is nonverbal. And this is a communication that she found. She, not just her, other people too, have found this method of communication, which involves holding the disabled person's hand and allowing them to point to pictures on a picture board or to put punch key on like a computer keyboard to be able to express themselves.
Mhm.
This family trusted this woman as a professional
Right.
to come into their home, to come into their space, and to, in my opinion, in my thought process, to minister to their family member.
Mhm.
She was to bring her professionalism and her expertise
Mhm.
to help them, help him have the best life possible.
Mhm.
And then they end up with this woman taking liberties with
Mhm.
this gentleman who, being nonverbal, you are not in the position to consent.
Mhm. Correct.
Period. Dot. And even if he could consent, she
Mhm.
was brought into their family as a professional, as a teacher.
Mhm.
So then it opens up this other kind of worms of, teachers feeling that they have, and that's something that really goes, well, sometimes it happens in high school too, but definitely in college, people don't tend to feel like, oh, this, what's wrong with that?
Mhm.
There's a lot wrong with the trusted person now coming into your life and trying to be on the role of a lover to you. The power dynamic is off. That you can't flip off the switch where that person stops being a teacher or stops being a person who is supposed to be there to take care of you, to minister to you, to teach you, to guide you, mentor you, and all of that.
Mhm.
What are you thinking about that, Stacey?
Oh, it's so much. I didn't, when I initially pulled it up to watch it on Netflix, I did not even read, what exactly the title just caught, my attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I started watching it, and when you asked if I was watching it, I said, "Yeah, I am," but I was like not even halfway through. And so when um the story leads into her telling his mother, not having a conversation, not asking, not very abruptly, in my opinion, very disrespectfully, when the mother shows up at the table with the young man, telling his mother and his brother that they were sleeping together. That for me, it was the way that it was handled. Not only is it, like you said, the power dynamics is just not okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he is nonverbal, he cannot give consent. Um, it was the entitlement for me. It was the Karen
Mm-hmm.
personality, um, almost like undercover because of, her education, because she's a doctor. And she really gave the impression of like a very naive woman who just found herself falling in love with this person. Um, and so not only was it inappropriate, I found it just appalling. Her naivety, her playing like she was naive, because I believe she knew that it was wrong because it was a secret for the most part. until she felt like telling the family, um, for her own selfish reasons, by the way. And so the reaction for me, how her mother handled it, how her brother handled it, hats off to them for keeping their composure. Um,
I'm
they're,
telling you,
they're Christ-like,
for sure.
spirit, because that wouldn't have worked out too well for most families in that situation.
I'd be hard pressed.
Absolutely. So how they handled it, how they displayed it, they seek legal action. They immediately got an attorney. They did everything right.
Hmm.
And so as I was thinking about, us discussing the film today, another acknowledgement or a highlight that I would like to make is specifically, and we definitely acknowledge, the Black mother, right, and her roles. But the fact that his brother, the love that his brother, I don't think I've ever seen a deflection in a video of a Black man caring outside of a father role, which is few and far between, but as a caretaker, to where I could identify having a sick, adult brother who I've cared for with mental illness and drug addiction all of my life. I could definitely identify and relate to just how unconditionally he loved his brother and supported his brother.
That was beautiful.
It was absolutely amazing.
Yes,
And I would like to highlight, the fact that does happen. It is common,
for sure.
although we don't see it. I'll speak for myself.
Hmm.
I have not seen it. Rarely do I hear it talked about at all. Um, and so I just really wanted to highlight the fact that his brother took on, an outstanding, unconditional, protective, not controlling, but
Not at
protective
all.
role in his disabled brother's
For
life.
sure.
And
For
for
sure.
that, I really wanted to appreciate and highlight, again, hats off to both him and his mother.
For
Uh,
sure.
and I'm just glad the family is doing well. Although, as the film goes on, we know that the young man ends up having his own struggles,
Right.
side effects of that relationship. But that was the main thing that I just really, felt like it was important to speak about and highlight and recognize.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about that. I mean, depictions of Black men being nurturing, we don't have a lot of that in the culture, even though we know for sure it is. There are Black single fathers, there are
Right,
uncles and grandpas who are loving up their families every day.
right,
They're just not shown on TV and movies,
absolutely.
and he was uh so devoted to his little brother.
Right.
And I I hope he can forgive himself.
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
worried about him
Hmm.
because he is the one that he brought this person into his family circle
Right,
to do such damage. And you were
absolutely.
talking earlier about Ms. Stubblefield.
Hmm.
Her attitude was really, I mean, granted, the documentary seemed to really be coming mostly from her point of view. And
Right.
I don't know if the documentarian meant that, but that's really like she was really telling the whole story from her point of view.
Mhm.
And as she was talking about it with the documentarian, her attitude was very arrogant, in my opinion.
Yes, very.
Not a bit.
Mhm.
She is as clear that what she did was what needed to be done, and the whole world is crazy because they put her in jail for it,
Mhm.
even though she was only in jail for 2 years and she hadn't managed to get out. She's walking the streets free today.
Mhm.
Everybody is wrong. Everybody who believes that this form of communication doesn't work, they're all crazy. And basically, she's like a broken-hearted lover who was forced
Right.
to be forced. She's like Romeo. They're like Romeo and Juliet.
Mhm.
That's the story in her head.
Mhm.
It is just amazing what human psyches can do when we want to justify our stuff. We want to justify whatever our addictions are. We can
Mhm.
tell ourselves a story that makes it all right for us to
Yeah.
do the most amazing things.
Mhm.
So, yeah, she comes off very arrogant, very entitled. She was entitled to this man's body.
Yeah.
And would have did not mention she is a married woman when this was all going down.
Not to mention, not to mention. Mhm.
She was a married woman. She
Not only was he nonverbal, but he could not walk on his own. He wore diapers. She laid him down on the floor on the blanket and
she
proceeded.
dragged him across the floor.
Right, right. Um,
Oh my God. That is the most violent abuse you can think of
in complete disrespect in the mother's home,
in
alongside
the mother's
being
home while
parent.
the mother's at church. It gets
Mhm.
worse and worse. The more you talk about it, it gets worse
Yeah,
and worse.
yes.
I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God.
Mhm.
And then while that's going on, we just add in the part about what she was riding, Dr. Stubblefield's riding in the car with the family and
Mhm.
with Derek in the back. And the families they used to listening to spiritual music, listening to the gospel music. And
Mhm.
she has the you know what to just
Density.
change the music in that mother's car.
Right. To classical.
He likes
Mhm.
classical music.
Right.
He has told her, nobody else,
Mhm.
that he likes classical music now. He doesn't like that stuff anymore, even though Derek's been known to be like moving and motioning and totally enjoying his family when they go to church and the choir in the church for his whole life. And
Right.
oh, now he's vegetarian. The mom's cooking food for him.
Right.
I'm
Right.
just like, wow, dude.
And it goes back to because I have a degree in African American studies from Cal, and it reminds me of how, you know, just when you talk about the power dynamics and the complete utter disrespect of not looking at us as human beings but animals, right, that
Right,
we don't have human rights because we come from monkeys or whatever story historically that Europeans have created, and other races as well, created against recognizing and acknowledging African Americans as human beings,
well, if
you
you
know.
can own something, it's not a human being. I mean, if you, the more you can make an other, and as more as if you don't view them as we in the Vietnam War we could kill Viet Cong because they weren't people.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Hitler killed Jews because they weren't people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain folks that still have this attitude of ownership, like white women that want to come up and touch black women's hair. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
come up to this woman you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and because you like her hair, you feel it's okay to put your hands on her,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're surprised when she curses you
Right.
out, like you're shocked.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And like some folks have not forgot have didn't get the memo that y'all don't own us anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Y'all do
Because he
not
had a
own us.
he had a lot of strikes against him, right? Young black man, disabled, nonverbal, very unfortunate.
Well,
And and fortunate at the same time because he did
exactly.
his family.
He has
Uh,
an amazing family. He has an
mhm.
amazing family.
Right.
People
Yeah.
who have his back,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I mean, we were getting back to this woman's arrogance for a hot minute. I mean, she was so arrogant that once the family had gone and talked to the cops, and definitely if folks haven't seen the documentary, go watch the documentary and come back and hear us talk about it because we might spoil some stuff for you.
Mm-hmm.
But when the family gets in touch with the police and the police has the mother to call her
Mm-hmm.
because they had just cut things off, and if she had not been so arrogant, she could have just walked away scot-free from the whole thing because the
Yeah.
family just wanted this to all go
Yes.
away.
Yes. Yes.
But
Mhm.
she kept trying to be in touch with Derek.
Mm-hmm.
was kind of going around their back because in her mind, she's Juliet being kept from her Romeo.
Right.
And she went to the school and went through other places trying to get in touch with them. They're like, we have to put a stop to this. So that's what even made them go to the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
And for the mother to call her up out of the blue asking all these questions about their relationship, it didn't even dawn on her that they're setting her up.
Right. Exactly.
That's how
Yeah.
arrogant she is.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, yes, we had sex. Your son is a man in every aspect of the word. I'm like, how do you say that to anybody's mother? How would
Mm-hmm.
you say that to anybody's mother, much less to a Black woman's?
And her mother had the same attitude. So the apple don't fall too far from the tree either, because when the documentary interviews her mother is just as, you know, just flawless, could not do any harm whatsoever and had her daughter's back 1000%. 1000%.
That's called being an enabler,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's I felt a good deal of sadness by the end of this thing and
Mm-hmm.
anger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now due to being SA'd, uh, the mother has made a decision to medicate her son,
Mm-hmm.
because he who had been living, when the story is being told, this is a gentleman in his 30s. He had been living a non-sexual life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because the door to sexual feelings has been opened, uh, she was finding that he was like kind of constantly masturbating, and she's made the decision to medicate him for that, which I definitely have to admit that I have very unsettled feelings about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I kind of understand why she's doing that, and if he's being socially inappropriate doing that, that
Mm-hmm.
would be quite a trial.
Right.
But then there's also the conversation about, do disabled people have the right to a normal human existence, which includes being sexual?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we make room and space? How do we allow uh sexuality for a disabled person?
Right. And I'm assuming that it was in public or inappropriate times
They never
because
say.
probably,
They don't
yeah,
say.
they don't say. They don't say. They don't say.
One of the possibilities that I've actually heard other folks on YouTube talk about, which is interesting because I didn't immediately go there, probably because I am Christian and Black, but for some people, and that wasn't really said about in this family, but for some Christian families, there's a big taboo about sex, period.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it's about not wanting to deal with the sexuality of it.
Right. And the religious aspect of it, sexuality, especially in the Black family. And that's an issue across the board, whether you're disabled or not. Mm-hmm.
Exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. So in that on that regard, it makes me feel really sad that he's being medicated out of feelings that are part of his human nature.
Right. Right.
Because people have a right to want sex and to be sexual. The problem when you don't have someone to be sexual with, and we get to channel
Mm-hmm.
those energies into other beautiful things in our lives. But he's not, because of his disability, he doesn't even have that option.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like,
The
why would you do that? I mean, hire a sex therapist? I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to touch that.
right. Right.
But she's very happy now because he's no longer masturbating. And is that really the right thing for him?
Right. Right. It's another video for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she's living her life. Um, we did mention that she was married before, that her first husband divorced her when everything came out with the law.
Mhm.
She was married to a Black man. And in the research that I was doing on this film, she is I don't think she's married to him, but her partner now is another Black man.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, what's up with that? What's up with that?
Mhm.
I don't know. I know people say all the time, "Oh, you just love who you love." Da da da. And I'm like, "No, there's stuff behind everything that we do."
Mhm. Mhm.
And if she has this, inner slaveholding ancestor that definitely didn't get checked in
Right.
her relationship with Derek, how
Mhm.
much does that have to do with who she finds attractive? Is she, part of why she would find this very, nothing to say that this is not a sweet gentleman. I'm sure he's a very sweet gentleman. He is profoundly disabled.
Mhm.
So this thing
Absolutely.
about her wanting to be so over another human being to that extent. I mean, this gentleman has to have diapers changed. I mean, this is
Mhm.
severe disability.
Yes. Yes.
So what is it in her that she is wanting to,
Mhm.
it's just like a fine line between wanting to really be helpful. Like people becomes nurses, people become doctors because they want to take care of people, they want to help people.
I'm
Okay.
gonna have to use the acronyms again because you had to remind me that he was not a child,
He's not
that
a
he was
child.
a 30-year-old, right? But I caught myself thinking of him as, again, because of the power dynamic. She's the doctor, he's the student, right?
Right,
And so when in any situation, when you're taking advantage, especially emotionally, or really anyway, any kind of way, emotionally, financially,
right.
sexually, intellectually, spiritually, someone who is insufficient, right? Or yeah, insufficient, not on the power structure or podium of authority as you are, it's simply wrong. It's wrong.
It's straight up wrong.
It's wrong. And yes, it's SA, it brings, so I just did some training on how to detect child A, right?
Child abuse, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's very sad because we know that this is happening across all spectrums. I think about nursing homes with seniors being abused, same
Very
situation.
true. Very
Whether
true.
they're verbal or not, they're still being abused.
Yeah.
If they don't have family support and advocacy. And so the line of work that we as life coaches and ministers do, um, and we have responsibilities of confidentiality, but also we're mandated to report when, and that's another thing, that how did she get away with this type of feelings in relationship, right? In a university.
Right.
Did no one when they interviewed what the receptionist or the secretary or assistant, a teacher of some sort, I think in the film, that no one reported this prior to
Yeah.
the family reporting. I find that appalling as well, because anyone in that arena is mandated to report when they observe certain interactions or something that's not right.
That's a really good question. I mean, she had to, in order to engage with him sexually,
Mhm.
she had to put a blanket down in her office. They
Mhm.
were in her place of business. Now, I am sorry, if this is such a beautiful love affair,
Mhm.
why would you reduce your sexual activity
Right.
to being on the floor in your office?
Mhm. Mhm. And then you're surprised that you can't teach anymore.
Shocked, clutching her,
Totally.
clutching the pearls about it.
I can do whatever. I just can't teach. No, you cannot. No, you cannot, ma'am. I mean, the ending just it boggled my mind. While people of color are spending innocent people of color are spending years and years in prison. Not to mention, okay, the guilty, overly sentenced with no representation. If you don't have money for an attorney, you can forget about it.
Right.
Most of the people that are incarcerated took plea deals because their backs are up against the wall for something they did or did not do. But the time people are still locked up for selling $5 of marijuana.
Correct.
So to know that she was released from prison that soon, that quickly, with again, no change, no apology, no remorse, no
Yeah.
empathy, nothing. That Karen.
That's straight up Karen. And the folks, the entitled folks in our society know consciously or unconsciously that the system will protect them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The system will stand up in whatever way, shape, or form and protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the case with this woman. I mean, she's very protected. Yeah, she can't be a professor anymore, and that's a drag. Imagine having your PhD in that position of authority and
Mm-hmm.
being so arrogant to feel that you can just throw that all away. I mean, didn't that cost time and money?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But she is not to be trusted
Mm-hmm.
with sensitive souls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
mean, the whole thing of it, why don't we sleep with children? Why don't we sleep with our students? It's because we care about them and they are not there for our gratification. Why don't therapists hang out with clients and fall all in love with them? Well, they can do that and they'll lose their licenses, and as well they should.
Mm-hmm. And no matter how you see it, it can be a very toxic, manipulative dynamic. As a minister, as a pastor, as
Oh,
a
we see
teacher,
that.
as
Oh,
clergy, like, I'm sorry, if you're in supervisors with employees, the difference of the power of authority, right? And then you mix romance or feelings, emotions involved in that. The person with the authority and power is always going to, um, manipulate and, turn or have the ability to have the greater, power and gain, within that type of structure and relationship. Now, I have a very, close family member, that she met her husband, at the college she was attending. However, they took steps, it was years where, they were professional student friendship, and then over time, over years, it led to a beautiful marriage. So not every scenario, every case it's not a black or white scenario. However, when you are in the power of leadership, right? A teacher, student, clergy member, those rules are put in place for reasons, and reasons for safety and protection.
absolutely. I mean, not to pick on someone that's dear to you. It's just because it turned out well for them, it
Right,
doesn't mean it's
exactly.
something that should be regularly done.
Exactly. Definitely.
You
Definitely.
know,
Mhm,
I know, um, I'm not exact about this. I know, like for psychiatrists, that this is different from state to state, but a
mhm.
psychiatrist who's an MD
Right.
cannot be engaged with a client until they have terminated their relationship and that they have been separate from each other for several years,
Exactly.
like
Hmm.
3 to 5 years.
Right.
And so the feeling with that is if it's that big of a deal, then you guys
Right.
will cycle back, go off, live your lives, and you'll cycle back if not. But even that, because there are people who groom folks.
Right. Yes. Hmm.
It's like, oh, well, you're 15, but I'm gonna catch you when
Right.
you're 18.
Yes.
No, no,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
So
It happened.
this is this a perfect example about how this particular documentary, it's only an hour and a half. It's not like Baby Reindeer, which went on forever. I was still like, oh Lord, another episode of Baby Reindeer. It was going on. Each episode got more intense than the one before it. This
Mm-hmm.
was an hour and a half that I was riveted
And it's so
on my
many
couch.
issues. Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
had to watch it a second time just to make sure that I really saw what I just saw.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
It is good to observe such things. It's good to think. I've done some speaking a little bit about people needing to know what their honor code is.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And this is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, this is a woman who's given no thought to what her honor code is.
Right. Right.
And this is a family that's very clear what their honor code is.
Yes. Very,
They
very.
look after each other.
Mm-hmm.
They have a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that someone who doesn't believe in God
Mm-hmm.
could not be an honorable person. Of course not. But
Mm-hmm.
within this particular dynamic, there's two pools of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Those um, these were not Christians who were saying that they were Christians and then doing unchristian things behind the scenes.
Right. Right.
They were taking care of each other, taking care of Derek. He wanted for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right.
His mom and his brother met all of his needs.
Absolutely.
I'm curious about the impact on the brother.
Mm-hmm.
Does the brother have a partner? Does the
Mm-hmm.
brother have a family?
Right. Yeah.
It's, oh, so much more. The more you think about it, there's more to think about. But in any case, it's really clear how lost, confused, and criminal behavior can come from folks who don't get what the line in the sand is for them.
Right. That's right.
Because even if this therapy did work, which science says it does not, it's
Mm-hmm.
been debunked by other larger groups who are taking care of disabled people. They're like, no,
Right.
right? Even if it did work, it would still be incorrect because she was the teacher.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
She didn't get that. She still
No.
doesn't get that.
No. No. No.
Well, I think that we have talked about what we need to talk about. Are there any last words you'd like to share before we sign off?
Just I'm grateful for the opportunity to get together again and have these discussions.
Yeah,
Grateful that I am because I do live a life of recovery now. I am in a place where, and I don't take it for granted that I'm in a place where I can give consent and I do give consent or not consent, right?
it's beautiful.
And so I just want to acknowledge, the people who are not in a place where they can mentally, emotionally, physically give consent due to multiple disabilities.
For sure.
I specialize, in alcohol and drug addiction, mental illness, and how it's such a blurry line even today on whether or not, SA, in regards to someone, who is struggling with whatever illness or disability
Right.
can, cannot give consent. So I do want to acknowledge the people who are still suffering, who are not in the place where they can give consent. I'm a SA survivor as well. So it does bring back, a lot of uh, feelings, emotions, memories.
For sure.
I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I have a support system. And that's another thing I do want to highlight about this film, that we know that the mom and the brother, they were their own village, right?
Right.
But I want to encourage people because people like you in my life, in my extended tribe, are
Mm,
really, those are the people, along with my relationship with God. But even when my relationship with God was not where it was supposed to be, it was the village of people that did not give up on me, that sat in the waiting room, that did interventions like you had to do on me at one time. My pastor, who never, who worked with you, right?
Mhm.
And my aunt and my mom. So it took a village of support when I was not in a place to give consent over my own life, let alone the SA and the alcohol and all the dynamics that was going on. I thank God for people like you
Mm.
uh, that extend themselves out of their love and their compassion and their empathy to help other people who cannot give consent. And so just want to put a reminder out there and a word of encouragement that if you are in that place of desperation or sadness or depression or any type of disability, to reach out, because I know his mother and his brother, they reached out for help.
Yes.
They got legal,
Legal advice. We
yeah,
spoke to
they
the
got
police.
advice, and we know that they were connected to some type of spirituality, right?
Right.
The movie doesn't go into extent, but I would like to believe or to imagine that they also had a tribe of people behind them to give them their own support to support the young man going through all of the issues. So I don't know
Exactly.
if you wanted to add to that, but I just wanted
No,
that out.
no. I mean, that's really, really important. I mean, we are not solitary beings. We are supposed to live together in community. And and to the point where, you become a parent and it's not about your needs anymore.
Right, right.
This culture is all about getting my needs met. And
Mhm.
to a certain degree, yeah, but then there are times when your needs don't get met.
Right, right.
You have a new baby in the house, people might need some sleep, they ain't gonna get any.
That's
I know, but then when that child grows up and the mom's in the nursing home and that child comes and cares or has that child has the mother in their house, not even in a nursing home, it all comes around full circle. We're not that it's always a juggling act. I really do believe it, especially in this culture, which is a very selfish, self-centered culture.
absolutely.
So we want
Ab-
to make sure, okay, yes, we do want to get our needs met but we can't live it alone in our ivory tower, getting our needs met while everybody around us.
Right. That's right. It takes a lot of sacrifice. A lot of sacrifice. And shout out to all the caretakers, the moms, the fathers, the big brothers, the big sis,
Grannies,
all
yep,
the grannies that are raising their children's. Like, I mean, caretaking is no joke. And unless you've done
no,
it, boy, oh boy, unpaid, very little thank you, lots of hard work, God's work for sure.
for
Um,
sure. Because I
so
mean, I think that's the whole point of it. I mean, God works through us.
yes, yes.
Part
Mhm.
of how God is everywhere is because there are people everywhere.
That's right.
And we're
That's
all supposed to be looking at each other as God would look at us,
that's right.
you know? So I think we're going to leave it right here. And I am going to ask all the folks who get to see this video, I hope you enjoy it. Please like or give comments on the video once it's posted. And I'll be very happy to respond. I'll make sure that Stacey can respond to questions on the video if you have questions for her. If you want to reach out to either Stacey or myself for counseling, I do coaching as well. I have my whole birth life, which is also on this YouTube channel. Feel free to look around. Anyone that you know who's having a baby or wants to have a baby, I have a lot of useful information on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can reach me by my email, which is lsamsarahmorgan@gmail. My name's on the screen there, but it's lsamsarahmorgan@gmail to reach me directly. And what's your email, Stacey?
Stacey, Stacey, V as in Virginia, Reid @gmail.com. samsarah.com. I am working on my website that will be getting up shortly. But yes, please email me or comment in the notes and I will be, or the chat, the comments, definitely will be in touch, and definitely looking forward to reading the comments and connecting.
So all who watch this video, please be blessed, be happy and prosperous in your life. We look forward to seeing you soon. We're planning to be more steady with the videos. We're hoping for every 2 weeks putting a video out.
Yeah.
And these are offered as a blessing, and I hope that they are received as such. Be well.
God bless.
God bless.